I've had a lot of people say that this program has been so transformative for them, and I can relate because herbalism was transformative in my life as well. It's just, I think the plants choose us.
Herbal Radio is brought to you by Mountain Rose Herbs. Mountain Rose Herbs is committed to putting people, plants, and planet before profit. They work hand in hand with farm partners to provide the highest quality organic herbs, spices, extracts, teas, essential oils, and DIY ingredients. Mountain Rose Herbs is proud to be independently owned and operated here in Eugene, Oregon. Please visit mountainroseherbs.com for all your wellness needs. And now, on with the show.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tea Talks with Jiling, where we share tea and conversations with visionary herbalists connecting people, plants, and planet. I'm Jiling, your host, acupuncturist and herbalist in Southern California. Please enjoy today's Tea Talk with Crystal Moore-Stevens. Crystal co-owns Flourish Farmstead Folk School, a botanical sanctuary and regenerative farm with her husband and 2 children. Crystal is a folk herbalist, author, multidisciplinary artist, and organic herb farmer. Crystal runs herbalism programs and workshops through her School of Botanicals and teaches classes in herbalism, gardening, ethical wild foraging, wildcrafting, botanical dyeing, and earth skills at their farm in Godfrey, Illinois. It's a lot of the things that you teach, which is awesome. Their family is passionate about earth stewardship and increasing biodiversity on their 10-acre farm. And she's currently enrolled in Project Dragonfly, a Master of Arts in Biology program through Miami University. Crystal, so grateful and honored to have you join us here today. Will you share where you're joining us from today and what plants you're growing, gathering, or processing right now?
Sure. The farm is located in Godfrey, Illinois, though right now, to get some quiet, I'm in a shop called Bluff City Bazaar, where I have a little apothecary stand in this shop. It's a collective of artists, about 40 plus artists in the Alton area. So from the podcast here and now, I'm in Alton, Illinois, along the Mississippi River. And the herbs I'm gathering now are, well, none right this minute because we just had our first killing frost. So the only things that are still green here in our region are things like comfrey. My fig leaves just all died back. So I'm harvesting some green figs and trying to preserve some fig sap. But before the killing frost, I was harvesting hibiscus roselle calyxes, lemongrass, lemon verbena, trying to get all my lemon verbena up. And one of the most exciting things was I was harvesting saffron, which was really cool. The plants were tricked because of the colder nights and then the warmer days. They were tricked to think it was spring. So the saffron was offering those precious little gifts.
Wow, that's amazing. So for our listeners, we're chatting in mid-November. So fast forward through the cold winter, through the killing frost, through the white season.
Sure. Typically, I start my spring with the common edible wild plants, chickweed, violets, dandelion, harvesting as many precious dandelion roots as I can. Cleavers will be just now showing itself, teeny little babies, although it doesn't really form until it's a lot warmer out in our region. And then I'm always by May, the dead nettle and henbit are some favorites. But we grow a lot of different herbs on our farm, and then I always utilize the wild plants that are in abundance, and then even mushrooms. We have several inoculated logs, over 100 of inoculated shiitakes, oysters, and then reishi are just starting to fruit this past couple of years. So it's exciting to harvest homegrown reishi.
It sounds like such abundance that you're cultivating on these 10 acres. Will you share about your journey into herbalism and some of the important people, plants, places, or experiences that changed your life and welcomed you into this world?
Absolutely. Well, I grew up and I was born in Colorado, and then my family moved to Oceanside, California. We spent some time in Oceanside, and then we traveled from Oceanside to St. Louis, Missouri, to care for aging grandparents and great-grandparents when I was younger. And so we traveled from California to St. Louis in a big yellow school bus with a mural painted on it, houseplants in all of the windows. And, as a California resident, there's lizards everywhere. And so in these houseplants, I remember there were just dozens of lizards that had kind of burrowed in. And so it was a family of 4 on a school bus with lots of lizards. So fast forward, I have always been a nature person, even from young ages. Some of my fondest early core memories have been looking out at the mountains and being on the ocean, or at the ocean, at the edge of the ocean. And when we spent time in St. Louis, I started going to St. Louis public schools. I had a journalism teacher, Byron Clemens, and his wife at the time, Beatrice. They would go out to Big Mountain Reservation, which is the Dene Reservation in Arizona, and they would do relief work and bring supplies and offer hands to do repairs, to bring medical supplies and equipment, and to work the Sundance and help just with general relief work. And one of the days, they sent me with Tom Bodoni, the medicine man of the Dene tribe at that time in that place. It was just so beautiful. And I remember with Tom Bodoni, he showed me how to harvest mullein for tinctures. A lot of the elders in the community were having issues with their lungs, and a lot of them had lung cancer. And at the time, Tom Bodoni was giving them mullein tincture, mullein salves, foot baths of different herbs. And so I harvested herbs with Tom Bodoni that day, and it was life-changing and life-altering. I was 15 years old at the time. And so, that was transformative and sent me on the path. And then fast forward to 2000, when my father was diagnosed with end-stage lung cancer and given 6 months to live. He was a Vietnam veteran, a chain smoker, and as a Vietnam veteran, he was exposed to Agent Orange. As a carpenter, he was exposed to asbestos and a variety of other toxins as he was gutting houses. And so when he received that diagnosis, he didn't really want to do chemo or radiation, and we tried to just talk him into doing acupuncture and seeing a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner in our region. And with a combination of the acupuncture and medicinal herbs and medicinal mushrooms, and then I also got a job at the local health food store, Wild Oats at the time, bringing home 24 ounces of fresh pressed organic juice and a discount on the organic foods and supplements, a combination of all of those things. He lived an additional 5 years. And so a lot of what I was helping with that support was going back to remember what Tom Bodoni had been treating the elders with. It was that kind of forged my path into herbalism. And I trained with at Australasian College of Herbal Studies at the time, which was then based in Lake Oswego. And then I went back several years ago to receive a bachelor's in integrative health sciences with a focus on herbal medicine from, which is now American College of Healthcare Sciences.
What an adventure. And what an amazing way to experience the potency and magic of herbal medicine as a teenager. Lucky you. Yeah. And it sounds like some of these plants are still in kind of heavy rotation. You're growing the mushrooms and you're still in relationship with mullein and these other plants that come up all around us and that you're cultivating.
Absolutely.
What does being a herbalist mean to you? And what does your day-to-day life as a herbalist look like?
That's an exciting question. I think it embodies everything around us. I mean, healing potential of the earth, healing potential of the plants. Since the first humans walked the earth, we've relied on plants for food, fiber, and medicine, and for survival and shelter. And so I feel just very connected to the earth in so many profound ways. As an organic farmer who grows medicinal herbs primarily, it just allows this connection to nature and earth and the seasons and the soil and the air and the water in such a personal and profound way. I feel just very grateful to be doing this work. And as a herbalist, I really teach about herbalism, and that's my primary way of being in the field of herbalism. I also make products with the homegrown herbs, so I think that sets my business apart a little bit, because I grow almost 90% of the herbs myself, and we do it on our regenerative farm, which the primary goal is increasing biodiversity and doing it in regenerative practices that are life-giving. So it's very life-giving, and I feel so connected to the earth being a herbalist.
Yeah. So living in an earth connected way and feeling this deep primal intimacy with being of the earth, and re-supporting this nourishment that we get from earth-based living. Your herb school, Flourish Farmstead and Folk School, tell me about that. What kinds of programs do you run, and what do those programs look like?
Yes. Well, I've been teaching different aspects of herbalism since 2007, and mainly introduction to herbalism classes throughout the years, with a focus on just empowering yourself to take action to help with certain ailments like a stomach ache, cold and flu symptoms. So those were kind of my original class structures. And then I grew more into women's support herbs and herbs for cold and flu, plus integrating medicinal herbs that you can grow. So sort of homegrown apothecary classes. And then I co-founded the Tendon Flourish School of Botanicals with Alex Quetham. And she and I ran a very wonderful program for many years. And then we are in different geographical locations, so it made sense to kind of lead our own separate classes. So now it's the Flourish Folk School that I run. And then I co-own the farm, Flourish Farmstead, with my husband, Eric. And so we have 10 acres, which are kind of like a playground for the herb school. They get to go on little hikes down to the creek. They get to cultivate and learn how to grow from seed to apothecary. We cover everything from cultivation to weeding, watering, maintaining, and then harvesting the herbs, drying and storing them, making herbal preparations, and then just becoming empowered to learn how to use the different herbs to their benefit and as additions to their lives. I've had a lot of people say that this program has been so transformative for them, and I can relate because herbalism was transformative in my life as well. It's just, I think the plants choose us. And so I run a 120-hour herbalism training program that's 60 hours in person and 60 hours online, self-paced. And that seems to work. It's a cyclical, so anyone can join anytime.
Beautiful. What were some examples of seed to apothecary plants that you worked with, which, by the way, I think is amazing.
Oh.
What a way of learning. Yeah.
Thank you. Every year we plant hundreds of plants of several species of echinacea, since it's on the United Plant Savers at-risk list. So we are registered as a United Plant Savers botanical sanctuary. So I make sure to interweave that framework and the ethics into the herbalism program that we run. So, for example, the echinacea, in the early spring. I believe we planted the seeds in February, so they get a little cold stratification. February, we planted dozens and dozens of flats, which contained thousands of little echinacea seedlings or seeds. And so the class came together, planted all the echinacea. And then we later took part all together as a group, transplanting those into their berms where they grow. And then a separate class was making a whole plant tincture of echinacea and working with the plant in tincture form and in tea form. We harvested leaves and petals, and then they were able to make all kinds of different preparations using the echinacea tincture, including like sore throat spray, and we integrated echinacea into the elderberry syrup that we did. And one more example would be the elderberry. So each year, students get to take home stem cuttings of elderberry, and I'm very generous, like take as many as you want, because we have a orchard of 150 elderberry plants, and we're always adding more. And so, for one, the captured photos when the elderflowers are in bloom, they're just walking through these rows of elder, and it's just remarkable. And then when it's berry season, they get to go out with their jars and, hand pick each elderberry and put it in a jar and make a tincture. We do a big batch of elderflower cordial and elderberry syrup as a group, as well as many other preparations. So it's kind of cool to hand them the sticks, the stem cuttings, and be like, okay, now you can have your own elderberry orchard. And it's life-giving. It's so beautiful.
I can imagine walking through those elders and all the bees and the scent of those incredible flowers. And it's like getting married, what I imagine, like the little flowers falling down and just the ecstasy of buzzing.
Oh, to be covered in elder flowers, right?
And rose petals and all the flowers.
Well, if you want to come to the farm in the spring, I will cover you in elder flowers and rose petals.
Okay. The way you describe that experiential way of learning and passing out the sticks and having people take matters into their own hands reminds me of the class that I got to take with you this year at the Midwest Women's Herb Conference, which was on botanical dyeing. And basically, for the listeners, Crystal showed us the process for how to do it, and then gave us permission. Like, okay, here's your options. Do as you please. If you have any questions, I'm here for you, but go for it. And I really appreciate that way of learning. Teacher shares what student needs to do and then sets the student free, and the student kind of has their own pathway of discovery.
It was beautiful. Yours turned out so gorgeous too. Beautiful.
Yeah, very grateful. So your farm is integrated into the school. What kind of farming or gardening practices do you use, and how are you increasing biodiversity and while running a working farm?
Sure. So we do no spray and minimal tilling. In fact, we just now got a tractor after being farmers since 2010. So lots of time without a tractor, but we do like a minimal till situation to knock down some of those invasive grasses. And then we'll do cover cropping or soil building with manure, compost, wood chips or chip mulch, leaf litter, grass clippings. And just our goal is to build healthy soil, integrate a lot of worms and red wrigglers, composting worms. And then our methods are mainly doing as much like a polyculture, permanent raised beds, food forest style fruit guilds, and cover cropping with mixed species of cover crops. For instance, we just planted our field of garlic, and in between each pathway, we did a variety of clover seeds, Dutch clover and red clover seeds in the pathway. And then in another bed, we did pathways of rye, which will just get mowed in the spring and add nutrient rich. And then the methods we use for a lot of our berms are we have a polyculture guilds where we have fruit trees and then maybe some service berries, elderberries, and then we do a ground cover of clover, and then we offer baptisia, which is blue false indigo for nitrogen fixation, and comfrey as a dynamic accumulator. You can chop it and drop it, and so the comfrey will fertilize the fruit trees, and it's just a really beautiful mutualistic symbiotic relationship. And because we plant many different species, it attracts a variety of pollinators just by default. And so we do always plant hundreds of plants of various types of species of milkweed. So we typically do swamp milkweed, Asclepias tuberosa, which is the butterfly milkweed, the common milkweed, and we're working with a couple of other milkweed species as well. And we interplant all those into the berms. But a lot of the things that attract a big biodiversity is common things like the garden herbs, like parsley and dill attract swallowtail butterflies and monarchs. So I found lots of monarch caterpillars on our dill, our parsley, and our fennel, just because they are attracted to that. We've seen many types of mason bees and native bees, carpenter bees, and different bumblebees are really attracted to the passion flower. So that's another one that I could go on and on about. It's just such a beautiful flower. So we just try to do as many florals as possible. We also run cut flower operations. So we have lots of cut flowers that are constantly in bloom that the bees love, and the butterflies. There are so many butterflies on our farm.
Sounds like an oasis. With mentioning some of the plants, dye plants. Yeah. So what are some of the plants that you might use for dye that you're growing, and how does that play into the rhythms of farm life through the seasons?
Yes, marigolds are one of our favorite dye plants, and so we grow a lot of marigolds. They also deter pests. They're a companion plant. They provide the most luxurious fields of golden and the most beautiful smell. It's such an amazing aroma. That and calendula, which is considered pot marigold, they all have that really. It's such an interesting and robust smell, or I don't know how to describe it in words. It's such a beautiful smell.
Sweet and sultry, maybe? There's like a
sweet and sultry. I love it. We grow indigo, and it's hard to get, a lot of bandanas and different shirts and dresses and things dyed with just a small amount of indigo. So we've tried a big field of indigo, and it works, but it doesn't provide the amount of dye material. So I end up buying some indigos too. But when we get to work with indigo, fresh indigo, it is so amazing. There's also a lot of black walnuts on the property that we grab. Osage orange I've been experimenting with, and it's a really exceptional dye plant, or a dye tree. And then madder root, I had a little bit of success growing some madder root and weld. And I would love to get more involved in woad production. And I'm trying to do little experiments. I have some babies, but really I have a lot of fun just dyeing with any plants that are in season. So when goldenrod's in season, I do a lot of dyeing with goldenrod. If I find dyer's polypore mushrooms, I'll grab those. And, as long as there's a couple of, I don't want to take more than my share. But if there's multiple dyer's polypores in a general location, I'll take one and work with that. I think that's It's a good list.
Yeah, you're really having fun with your environment and getting creative in different ways. How do you know what grows well in your region?
A lot of trial by fire. Um, some of the first years of farming, I put things out too early, and then the killing frost got them, or like a hard freeze came before Mother's Day and would kill everything. One night, this is not herbalism related, but one night we got so ambitious about getting all of our heirloom tomatoes, which was about 250 plants out on the farm. And we were like, okay, let's do it. The weather feels good. And then 3 days later, we had a killing frost, and we had to cover every single tomato plant with nursery pots and find bricks and stones because there was a heavy wind. And so a lot of it is trial by fire. You kind of watch the weather patterns. I do a lot of research in terms of plant hardiness zones. So what grows well, though it is changing as the climate is warming, it is changing a little bit. I have noticed that things bloom sooner here. Watching the phenology studies of different bloom cycles is good to keep in mind. And then just growing what I love, really, I use a lot of lemongrass in all of my blends. Most of my tea blends have lemongrass. It's really amazing filler herb that provides like this uplifting and this wonderful fragrance and aroma and flavor. But it's very easy to grow in our region. It is an annual in this region, but lemongrass is one of the best. So I just grow what I love. I love lemon verbena. So I just grow a lot of that. And passion flower is one of my favorites, and St. John's wort. Really, it's trying to grow as many medicinal herbs. I've even been growing ashwagandha in this climate. So,
yeah, what's the type of bioregion that you feel like lemongrass grows really well in your area? And what are some of the ways that you like to use lemongrass culinarily or interact in other ways?
Sure. We are in kind of a region along the river. So we're in a little bit of a riparian ecosystem. There's a lot of karst topography where we are, like little caves and riverways and, valleys and hills and bluffs. So it's varying on the river line. But the climate that we're in is like 6B or 7 and is changing a little bit each year. I would say I actually don't know. I can't think of off the top of my head how much annual rainfall we get. But this year we had a ton of rainfall in the spring and then a hot, dry summer. There was a 3-month drought, I believe. So I would say it's very humid here. Temperatures in the summer get upwards of 90s and stay that way for a while. And then we get really cold winters. And then our spring and fall are very short. So the growing season lasts typically late March through late November here, or mid-November.
Yeah, so your plants are really hardy and you're very hardy.
Yes. And then I love lemongrass in any way. I love just braiding it. You have to wear gloves when braiding it. It's just fun to make little baskets to put things in with braided lemongrass and give little aromatic gifts. I love to harvest it and dry it and put it in different tea blends. I love making tincture from it. It's just such a special and beautiful herbs. And I find the most amazing, uplifting sort of just energy that I receive from the lemongrass plant. And for me, it works as an antidepressant in a lot of ways. I'm actually sipping on lemongrass tea right now.
Oh, nice. Do you feel like that lemony aroma with lemon verbena has that kind of uplift for you as well?
I do. We also partner with a local brewery and do a sparkling herbal tea. And so one of our flavors is lavender lemongrass, and it's very, it's like a sparkling herbal tea, and it just has this perfect amount of lemongrass followed by little notes of lavender. So it's lovely to sip on a sparkly beverage every once in a while. And it's a good non-alcoholic option too.
Yeah, fun. So many different ways of working with the plants. With your 10-acre farm and all these different plants that you're cultivating and in relationship with, how do you know when to harvest?
That's a good question. When it looks beautiful is typically the indicator. When it is blooming, for some things, when it's blooming. So like when my St. John's wort first starts to bloom, I'm like, okay, time to do that immediately, because if you wait too long, you'll miss the bloom window, and then you don't get those beautiful, gorgeous reds in your tinctures and your oils.
Harvest when it looks beautiful. How do
Yes.
you dry and store your herbs?
I have little mesh baskets that I hang. They have about 12 zipper pouches. And so that's the first step, is bringing it in from the farm and putting it in those 12-tiered mesh hanging racks. And then from there, I go into food dehydrators. My plan is to build a drying shed where I have screens and have like dehumidifiers running, and maybe even a space heater in there to sort of dry things out. I need to build a separate shed or renovate a part of my barn, but I don't have that yet. So for the time being, the mesh drying racks, I have about 4 of those. And then I have 3 big dehydrators that I run all at once and try to dry everything all at once, and then store it in airtight jars.
So much work. So it's mostly you and your partner and your children, or do you have other helpers on the farm as well?
I have a few apprentices that have helped tremendously throughout the season. And so they'll come one morning a week. Sometimes it depends on who's available. So some months I don't have anyone. Some months I have 4 weeks in a row with 3 helpers. But the apprentices have been really helpful this year in harvesting herbs with me and drying and processing. And then my sister-in-law comes out weekly to help. And the last time she was out, she helped process lemongrass for 3 hours. So we just cut it into small sections that can fit into a tea ball, because I put it in my tea blends. So my husband works full time at a nonprofit farm called Rustic Roots Sanctuary, and we partner with that organization and Janet Lewis, a dear friend, and Eric Scott to do some of our herbal programming there as well. We'll run herbal classes, and then we do our spring equinox herbal retreat out there as well. And they have a yurt, and it's a really cool nonprofit farm that works with food insecurity and helping to bridge the gap and get food to the people.
Wow. And how are your kids integrated into the school, the farm, life on the farm?
Yeah, they grew up on the farm, in the farm setting. Most families had babysitters. We had our dog like laying down on a blanket at the end of a row of cabbage, and we were CSA farmers for many years. So there was one story of our daughter was getting her belly time on a blanket at the end of the cabbage row, and we were just 100 feet away. Everything was safe. But as farmers, we had to be creative. So our sweet little dog, was laying next to her, and she ended up rolling over on her back. My daughter rolled over on her back and was crying, and our dog nudged her back over on her belly, and she stopped crying. It was so precious. And so we were like, okay, well, I guess she's our nanny. We would never leave her alone, obviously, but we were always in close proximity. And so she learned to pick peppers before she learned how to crawl. So we would place her like in the fields with us in safe conditions on a blanket. And then she would just reach for a pepper, and bite into it. And then our son, he's really helpful with schlepping. He's like a good schlepper going to and from market. And my daughter ran the market booth with me for 3 years. She's retired now. She's doing volleyball. So she's like, Mom, I need my time back. I'm like, okay. And my son is a really talented artist. He does a lot of artwork that I sell at market too for him. And both of them are very helpful. They will go on hikes with us in the woods. They'll take part in big days like mushroom inoculation. They'll help harvest occasionally. But my daughter is 14 and my son is almost 21. And then my niece lives with us and she's almost 21 as well. So they're doing their own thing primarily. My niece is very helpful as well, but she doesn't like insects. So so she stays inside.
What amazing conditions to grow up in with all that nature, and the story of the dog is so sweet. Yeah, I imagine it must influence their lives coming into adulthood for the younger one and early adulthood for the older one.
Yes. I think as they meet people who think farming is cool, then they say, oh, farming's cool. But because it was, they were kind of forced to take part in our lifestyle from the beginning. Like, you're going to eat these vegetables, you're going to clear your plate, and that's what we're having. And so, but because I was so adamant about them eating everything on their plate, like, it was delicious, homegrown, nutrient-dense food, and I always seasoned it really well. And but now they both have a sophisticated palate and they eat everything. They eat all the vegetables. I think kids who grow up with that really appreciate food more later on in life. And they both can cook and they're really talented.
Good job, Crystal. That's not easy. Speaking of not easy, we are living in complex times right now. There's a lot going on in the world and our ever-changing bodies. How can plants help us meet this moment? Or what are some of the plants or practices that are supporting you or starring in your life right now?
Honestly, being in community with like-minded individuals who feel the same way has been one of the most supportive and uplifting things that people gathering is such a huge part of human existence and society. And it's so important for us to gather in community during these times. And for me, the gathering has been through the herbalism program. And everyone that's in the herbalism program says how important these plants are, this earth is, to be able to ground themselves. A lot of folks in the program come from the city or maybe, don't have access to like a nature trail where they feel safe or comfortable. But when they come out to the farm, it's like a different universe almost. It's like a different existence in a way. And I think immersing yourself in nature is so perfect right now for these trying times. Our cortisol is so high, our stress levels are high, and the best thing we can do is support each other with plants. And even if that means offering a space for someone to come and meditate. And the plants that are getting me personally through St. John's wort and ashwagandha and honestly, Siberian ginseng has been very beneficial to raise my energy levels, and then ginkgo and gotu kola for mental clarity, and then lion's mane mushrooms. Those are my go-tos that I just try to take almost every day to stay focused. Definitely a lot of ginkgo. In fact, the ginkgos are turning yellow right outside this bazaar right now. And they're just so beautiful.
Yeah, that's such a bright yellow color. Well, I'm glad that you're nourishing yourself, and thank you so much for nourishing your community and these wider circles within which we dwell all together. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
If you are new to herbalism, I would say just grow the things you love, grow the plants you love, try to build your own homegrown apothecary, practice ethical herbalism. It's so important to create areas of biodiversity and create cultivated ecology. Bringing this beautiful ecosystem to your own backyard is what's going to keep some of these native pollinators healthy and vibrant. So do your part for your local ecosystems and your community. Reach out to loved ones, offer herbal support. It's just so important right now for us all to be in community.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Crystal. And how can folks follow you, get involved with your work, or keep in touch with you?
Sure. Our website is flourishfarmstead.com, and our Instagram is a little bit longer. It's at Flourish Farm Folk School, and on Facebook, Flourish Farmstead.
And I'll have links to all of those in the show notes. So take a look there for the best ways to reach Crystal. And Crystal, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, listeners, for listening to another round of Tea Talks with Jiling on Herbal Radio through Mountain Rose Herbs. Until next time, enjoy your lemongrass and lemon verbena teas and take good care of yourselves. Happy herbal adventures.